5 tips to make your PPP forgiveness process easier, because we all want that, right? I hope so. All right, well, welcome back to the Clara CFO Group channel. Again, we are going to talk about how to make PPP forgiveness easier. I want this to be easy for you guys. I don't want anybody stressing, staying up late at night, calling their CPA, not having them answer, calling their bank, not having them answer, calling the lender, not having them answer, and then, frantically searching for YouTube videos and finding this, okay? So if that's you, welcome. You are welcome here. But I hope that what this will do is it'll preempt that stress and help you be more prepared as you go to step through the PPP forgiveness process. So a lot of you got loans right at the very end of the whole PPP process, and so you've probably spent them or you're almost close to spending them, and now it's time to think about forgiveness, because what we don't want to do is let this sit out forever. Maybe you forget about it, and then at the end of the day you go, oh no, was I supposed to do something about forgiveness for this PPP loan? It's not automatic. It's not automatic, and I'm going to give you some tips to help you make it easier and do it as soon as you possibly can. All right, so if this kind of stuff is helpful to you, if you could go ahead and subscribe to the channel, I would so appreciate it. But more than that, if you could give this video a thumbs up, that would be super duper helpful to the channel. Okay, so tip number 1 is pretty basic, but you would be surprised that this comes up a lot, and because every bank is different, it's an issue. So the first tip is to ask your bank if they are ready to receive forgiveness applications. There are so many banks that have their own processes. Some are not taking loans, any forgiveness, where this is being recorded in early July of 2021. And even though loans were issued back in January or February of 2021, some banks are still not taking forgiveness applications for 2021 loans. So keep that in mind. What you want to do is just know if your bank is open and if you want to go ahead and start to apply as soon as possible. But you do need to know, is it even possible to go and apply at my bank? And so a lot of times they're sending email notifications, or if you call a PPP hotline or something like that, they will probably have some type of automated message that lets you know when they're taking forgiveness applications or if they are open right now. But I do just want to warn you, some of you guys are trying to go through this process, but your bank isn't taking your application yet. So just be patient. It will happen. They will open it up, but be ready when it is, okay? All right, so the second thing that I want you guys to know is that you need to make sure you're done with your covered period before you apply for forgiveness. So you have to have spent your money, dispersed it, used it for payroll costs and non-payroll costs, eligible purchases. Remember, eligible costs, eligible payroll costs, eligible non-payroll costs in the covered period before you go and apply for forgiveness. So do not try to apply for forgiveness and be like, oh, I still have $20,000 to spend. You have to be done with your covered period before you apply for forgiveness. Now, what this doesn't mean is it doesn't mean you have to wait 24 weeks, because remember, your covered period starts on the date of disbursement, and you can end your covered period anytime between 8 weeks and 24 weeks. It doesn't mean that you have to wait for 24 weeks before you apply for forgiveness if you've spent all your money by week 11 or week 12 or week 13, blah, blah, blah. You can go ahead, if you're done with your spending as of week 13, then you can apply for forgiveness after week 13, okay? So just keep that in mind as you're preparing for forgiveness. Number 3 is you need to identify which application applies to you. There are 3 applications for PPP forgiveness. The best one to use, if you can, is the 3508S. That is for anybody who has a loan under $150,000. Now, most of the loans that were dispersed on their PPP program are under $150,000, and that's why they came up with this application, because they wanted to make it easier for those people to apply for forgiveness. And so it's a 1-page document. It's very easy to fill out. However, the complication of that is that you need to know where you stand. If you're under 50,000, then you don't have to worry at all about the reduction of headcount. If you're between 50 and 150, you do need to do some headcount reduction calculations, okay, to make sure that you qualify and you don't have to reduce your PPP forgiveness amount. Okay, so I do have a separate video on the 3508S. It would probably be good to go and watch that if you think that this one applies to you. Well, This is very easy. How much was your loan? Is it $150,000? Under $150,000? Then you use the 3508S, okay? So if it's over $150,000, then you have two options. You can either use the 3508EZ or the 3508, and that's just the full application. The one that's like kind of we try to avoid if we can, because it's a little complicated and it's annoying, honestly. But the 3508EZ is where you go next. You say, do I qualify for the 3508EZ? I have a video on the 3508EZ as well, so you can go and check that out. I will put it in the description box below. But the 3508EZ, you have to be able to qualify to use it. So you have to qualify for either a statement that says, I didn't reduce any wages more than 25%, and there's time periods there. I'm not going to go into that right now. And I did not reduce my head count or average paid hours on two separate time periods. Okay, so they're basically saying, we want you to say and certify that you didn't reduce anybody's wages too much and you didn't let go too many people. Okay, so those are those two certifications with some, details there. And then or you can use it if you qualify for that, or you can use it if you have had some type of government entity reducing your capacity to operate at a full level. So think about like restaurants or retail operations or all sorts of things where they had to limit their capacity. Either they were fully shut down or they had to limit their capacity based on, city ordinances, federal ordinances that were trying to help protect people during the most intense parts of the pandemic. Those organizations that were shut down are eligible to claim this safe harbor, and therefore they can use the 3508EZ. Again, if you think that sounds like you, go and watch that EZ video, and you can see if that makes sense for you. So if you can, try to use that one, okay? Because the S is the best if you're under 150, and then you go, okay, can I use the EZ? Can I use the EZ? Yes or no? If it's no, then you move on to the 3508, okay? And that's the full application like we talked about. So, that's how you identify which application you can use. So that's my third tip for you. So my fourth tip is to go ahead and draft the application in the PDF form or in a paper form or something so that you know the answers before you go and log onto your bank portal and start to fill out the forgiveness application online, because most banks are creating their own sort of online version of the application, and it's all a little different, but it's good for you to have your answers ready so that when you get online, you know exactly what to put in each little box and you know how to answer the questions. Okay, and the reason you do that too is so then you can save it in your file. You have like backup support for every single number you've put in your draft, and it makes filling out the online application that much easier because some of these portals are timing out. And so people are spending tons of time going through this whole thing, and then they get, halfway through and then it times out because they went to go look for a number or to do something like that. So, these banks are all trying to create their own portals, which doesn't fully make sense, but just that's my tip for you. Okay. Make it easier on yourself. All right. And then number 5 is to save all of your documentation that either you're giving to the bank or you are just using to prepare your file and keep it for your own support. Keep it all together in a digital audit file. Okay. That audit file can be saved on, cloud storage. It can be saved on a computer somewhere. I highly recommend you making a backup. However you like to back up your files, make a backup of this audit file, but keep a digital copy of every single thing you've ever given to the bank or the SBA, and then any other additional documents that you're supposed to save to support your certification. So if you're a 3508S filer, you actually don't have to give the bank anything for forgiveness, except for if you're a second draw loan, but you still need to save all your documents, and you still need to do it all right, and you still need to have the documentation. So you have to have that on hand in case either the bank does want to look at it, because technically they have that right, or like during the forgiveness process, or if you get audited. Okay, so you want to have that ready so that you're not trying to scramble to put something together and say, how did I come up with this number? So just be ready for that. Okay, so those are my tips for you. I'm going to give you a bonus tip because this one is a little bit self-serving, but get help if you need it. Don't try to go at this 100% alone. Some people toil and toil away and try to do this and do it on their own, or hire professionals that they think are going to help, but those people have never actually worked with PPP before, and then they don't, spend money on people who aren't experts in the field. So I am a little self-serving in this and say, like, I do have availability to help people through the PPP forgiveness process. I book clarity calls with people at 15 minutes, 30 minutes, or an hour. You can book time directly with me. I show up on Zoom, and I will put a link to be able to book those calls with me in the description box below if you want to book a time directly with me. I go through if they've already prepared something, I can review it. If it's something that they just have questions, they say, hey, did I do this right? Did I do this right? Did I do this right? I do that all the time. And then I also have full forgiveness packages if you want to look at, a much larger loan and reviewing all the documentation in there. I've done that for a couple pretty large loans, and sometimes I find errors. So, all right. Well, I just want to say, get the help you need. I am not the only person who is a PPP expert at this point. There are other professionals out there who've been working on this. You can go and find people. Just be sure to say how many, are you working with people through PPP forgiveness? Don't just assume that they are because they have a CPA designation or because they are, an accountant or something like that. There's a lot of people who are not informed about this program and have been giving not great advice to small business owners, which results in less than 100% forgiveness, which is not what we want. We want to maximize forgiveness. Okay? So get the help you need. Don't try to go at it alone if that's helpful to you. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here. I really hope that all these tips will help your forgiveness process be a whole lot smoother. And, we can get all this behind us and we can start moving on to more fun finance topics, right? Right? All right. Well, let me know if you have any other questions, put them in the comment section below. I will be happy to answer them. I try to answer all the comments within the first 24 hours of every video. All right. Thanks so much. Talk to you guys later.